All right. Hey, welcome guys. My name's Mike Kerrigan here at Wealth Dynamics, coming to you guys live. It is right here. It's Friday night. It's about 7 p.m. Alaska Standard Time. So if you're joining us, thank you. You could be out doing other things. You could be out tonight, going to a show, getting ready for dinner, something like that. But you guys are here joining us tonight. So we're going to be talking about what we do here. So Wealth Dynamics is a company. We help people do 4 things. We're going to help you gain more knowledge on money. We're going to help you make more money with the knowledge you learn. We're going to help you keep the money you made, and we're going to help you multiply the money you kept, okay? So we're going to be talking about tonight as a staff training, so you guys are welcome to join us tonight, and we're going to be talking about production, okay? And how that kind of plays into a role of how a company is ran and how it works. So we're going to be talking as well, and then we're going to have a quick video here from Uncle G, Grant Cardone himself. So let's play this video real quick.
Every time I come to this coastline, I wonder, probably like you, what did these people do? What did these people do? I'm not talking about the ones that inherited it, Daddy gave it to them. I'm talking about the people that earned it. It came from nothing like I did. Look, if you're anything like me, you get inspired when you come to a place like this by what other people have accomplished in their life, knowing that some of these people started where you and I did, okay? Went through school and hated it, went to college, probably dropped out, okay? Didn't get good grades like I did. Somehow they got here, okay? This inspiration is unbelievable. These big waves, this marine layer, all the wealth and the prosperity, I want that for you. I figured out how to get it for myself so that I could not just help myself and take care of my family, but I could help others and maybe bring them out here to get this surf one day, this cold water, this Pacific Ocean has got freaking life, prosperity, abundance, affluence, all along this coastline. It's absolutely amazing. It's the life you deserve. I want to help you get it. It is my mission. It's my mission to pass on to others what I've been able to accomplish myself. These other people have done that too. I don't know if they're offering to help you or not. I am. I want to help you. You're willing to read, you're willing to study, you're willing to learn, you're willing to replicate. I promise you, you can get anything you want in life. Anything, including something right now that might seem completely impossible. $28 million house, $42 million house. Down the line, I'm standing in a $20 million house that costs $125,000 a week to rent. You can have anything, okay? I remember when I couldn't pay my rent at $275 a month. I've laid out in my books exactly what you have to do to go from zero to whatever you can imagine, okay? I want to help you.
Yeah. Wow, talk about that. I've never seen that video before. Have you guys?
Yes.
Okay, maybe you have. But for me, that's very inspirational. I mean, like, I get, especially what Grant's talking about, like going from nothing and then producing into something bigger, right? And it's all about growth, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight and how production plays into that. We're going to be handling our staff training, which talks about the conditions, how to take yourself from the condition you are in today and getting into the next stop tomorrow, right? How do I change my condition from week to week, and how do I take full responsibility for that? So without further ado, Coach Jerry Fetta is going to go over the training tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right, so we're going to do some training. If you guys are tuning in live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever we're streaming right now, so this is a staff training we're doing tonight for my team. We're going to go over production, and we're going to go over how to increase your production. And basically, like in the video Grant just talked about, it's not magic how someone can go from nothing to something. Okay, there is a method and a recipe. And so I'm going to teach that to my staff. If you're watching, I've got 2 or 3 different intentions for you tonight if you're online. So number 1 is I want you to become a client of ours. Okay, so this is transparency. I want you to see how we train our people. We have great staff here, and so I want you to see the work we're putting into servicing you, making sure our people are knowledgeable so that they can earn your business, and I want to stress that word earn. Number 2 is I want your referrals. Okay, so if you're watching this tonight and you're already a client, I want you sending more referrals to us. And then number 3, I want people that are on this stream joining my company. We're looking for salespeople. We're looking for someone to run our front desk. We're going to open a retail shop here in a couple of weeks. So we need good staff that are qualified, ethical, that can help us get established in the area and expand. And so those are the 3 main focuses I want to throw out there for you guys tonight. So without further ado, we're going to jump into conditions. So what I want to do is cover a couple different things. Lexi, is there a way where I can, with my iPad, pull it up on, Ring Central? So we could pull it on the screen, or do you think it's better to just do the whiteboard?
It's probably better to do the whiteboard.
Okay, do we have a clean whiteboard? Because I don't want to erase all our stuff. So basically what I want to do tonight, yeah, that's fine. Oh no, we just don't want to erase what's on there.
Okay.
It'll be too much work to put it back up. Yeah. So I think we do have a second whiteboard. So
I'm cleaning it up right now.
okay. So what I want to do tonight is I want to go over conditions. How do you increase production? I want to look at basically what's the end result you're trying to get, and then how do you back that down and start to actually cover the different points you need to cover in sequence to get there. So I want you to think of it like a recipe, and that recipe is going to have different ingredients and different amounts of certain ingredients, and those things are going to happen in a certain order as well. Okay, so one thing in the room that we can all agree on is income, right? So everyone wants to increase their income. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how do you increase your income? Thank you, Nano. How do you increase your income? And when you increase your income, that's where you're able to start investing and doing some of the stuff that you see Grant doing in that video. But a lot of times, that should be good. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Cool. A lot of times, we look at the end result. Let's see if the blackboard works here. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Neil. So a lot of times we look at the end results that we see people have, and then we actually get discouraged. So who's ever had that happen, where you see Grant in, LA on a video, or you see whoever like on a jet, and you're like, man, that's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I would never achieve that. Anyone ever felt that way?
I've felt like that before.
I have. Yeah, I grew up in Big Lake, so like Mike, you know where Big Lake's at. Sean, you know Big Lake?
No.
It's like an hour. Is that north or south?
That's north on the
North.
highway according to the sign.
Yeah.
However, you're moving kind of a west way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're that way. And basically, like, the way that I grew up, like, I didn't know anyone that was wealthy. I didn't know anybody that was doing well with money. I didn't know, like to me, I couldn't even imagine it could be real, because I didn't have anyone I could look at and be like, that's the example. So, like, I grew up where money was a scam. Like if someone was rich, it was like, oh, that must be a scam. Or that's not real, or it's just a TV show, or it's just a movie. It's not actually in real life. Okay? Like we grew up very poor. Like, for me, $50,000 a year was a big thing. And this was like 4 years ago, like 5 years ago. I was like, man, if I could only make 50 grand a year. Okay? So this wasn't like when I was 12. This was in 2015. Think about that. Okay? So in 2015, my target was, how do I make $50,000 a year in income? That's not a whole lot of money. Okay, last year we did collectively with all the companies over 1.5 million. Now that's also not a lot of money. But how do you go from 50 to 1.5? Okay, there's a question. So in order to do that, you've got to understand that this isn't just a jump. Just like when you see Grant on that video in California on the beach, that's not just like he like morphed into like time zones and like all of a sudden he's rich and he's in California. Grant did things. Okay, and this is not the spiel of just do stuff, because you could do stuff and still have nothing. Okay, like I know busy idiots. I know people that do stuff and they don't have any results. So you have to look at strategically, how would you get from here? Okay, now what I'll tell you is before I was at 50, my track didn't even start that well off, okay? So my first year in business, guys, I made $5,000. Okay, $5,000 my first year in business.
And that's revenue?
Total gross. Total
Okay,
gross.
gross.
I made $5,000. Okay, I did not keep $5,000. I made $5,000 in total revenue my first year. Okay, second year, we were at like midway through the year, we were at like 30K. Okay, so from 5 to 30K. Now from 5 to 30K, that was me just doing stuff unintelligently. Like if I would just go on some appointments sometimes and just make some phone calls sometimes, I would have stuff show up. Okay, that took me from 5 to about 30K. Okay, so 30K, I had that target hit probably by like, I would say beginning of May. Okay, and when I hit 30K, that was what I used to make delivering pizza. That's where my thinking was at. I used to make 30K a year delivering pizza. I just did that with my business. And I'm like, man, that's like the first level I just hit. Surpassed what I used to make in my old job. Then I was like, all right, well, I want to go from 30 to 50 because I know my dad made 50. And if I can make 50, that's what my dad made. That's pretty good. So I was thinking 50 the entire time. How do I get to 50? How do I get to 50? Now, I didn't think I could. And the reason why is I listened to an audiobook that said when you set goals, you should only set goals that are 50% bigger each year. Because if you set them any bigger than that, they're not going to happen. And if they're too big, then you're going to get discouraged and quit. So I was like, man, could I even do 50? Like, based on that, like, I should only go from 30 to maybe 45.
Wrong data.
50 was over the 50% marker, so I was like, man, that's probably not even going to happen. Should I even set that goal? And so I just kept on being busy. This was still just unintelligent activity. No system, no thought process behind it, no purpose. It was just like, oh, I need to run around and do stuff. And so I would do stuff. I would do calls, I would do appointments, I would pay for leads. Okay, what I didn't tell you guys is to make the 50, I was paying $2,000 a month to Dave Ramsey. So Dave got half.
Uncle Dave.
Uncle Dave got half of my 50. The IRS got the other half, right? So I got two just terrible uncles right there. So this was before I met my Uncle G, right? So 50, when I finally hit that goal, because I didn't have intention and I didn't have purpose or systems, I hit it and didn't even know I hit it. So I actually got to 55, okay? So by like August, I got to 55. Didn't even realize I hit it. I just pulled up my commission report one day and I was like, shoot, I hit 55. Okay? This was me not setting goals every day. This was me not looking at my targets. This was me not having quarterly production quotas. This was me not training. It was just me trying to get appointments. That was it. Okay, now realize nobody paid me a base salary here. This was zero. Okay, 0 to 50. Okay, so what I want to illustrate to you is if you have no systems and you don't follow any processes, you're probably going to make 50 grand. Okay, and then if you have a base, you're probably going to make less. So that's where you got to think about, all right, the stuff that we teach here, there's a reason we teach it. And if you follow the stuff we teach, that's how you get past those thresholds. Okay, so I went from 50 in August. This is where I really started to train every single day. So I got on Card on You. I started training daily. I started doing quarterly goals. This is actually the first time I started to look at my goals every day. I wasn't writing them every day. I was just looking at them every day. So I had goals that I wrote once, and I would look at them every single day. It's the same pad. I would look at the same page every single day. Okay? I went from 50, and I finished the year out right around 80. Okay? Right around 80. Now going into the next year, I went from 80 to doing about 50 in the first quarter of that year. Okay, and that's when I started getting more focused on systems. Okay, so this was by like March. So by March of that year following, I'd already done like 50K. Okay, and I was like, I didn't have stats, I didn't have conditions yet. It was just me working quotas. I was like, I knew the math. If I want to make X amount, I need to do this amount of calls, I need to do this amount of appointments, I need to do this amount of demos, etc. And so I would just like run my quota every day. I didn't have charts to look at. It was literally just me with a notepad doing addition and subtraction and dividing it by the amount of days left in the week to figure out how many calls I had to do that day. Okay? And that got me to, like I said, 50K in the first quarter. And I was here right now. That was probably about 80K total by June of that year. Okay? By June of that year, I got in communication with Grant. I was emailing back and forth, and so that's where I started working on actual tracking stats, tracking metrics. Okay, I still have those emails saved to this day. That following month, when I got on the stats program, I made $60,000 that month.
What year was it?
This was 2016. Okay, so July of 2016, I made $60,000. And up to that point during the year, I'd only made 80K the entire year. So I almost did my entire year's production in 1 month. Okay, and the reason why was I understood the conditions. I understood stats. I understood what I needed to do. I understood how to run the processes on that. Okay, I didn't even know about battle plans yet. I didn't know about any of that. All I knew was that there was a formula and a graph, and if I do what that formula says and I'm diligent, then the graph will go up. And it did. That's literally like that next month. So I was sold. Like immediately I was like, I will do this always and forever. Okay? And so basically what I started looking at was just measuring my production, right? I would look at the graph and I would see whether I was up or down, and I would look at it each week and I would just determine what condition was I in, what I need to do. Okay, I didn't have it like a fancy computer program. I had an Excel spreadsheet. I'd print them off and hang them on my wall. So I'd have literally dozens of sheets of paper on my wall. And I would just look at all the graphs. Every single day I would update them. Every single day I'd print out another one. Okay, and I would study those every single day. It's like an athlete, like a professional athlete. When they win the game, they don't celebrate. They go study their game film. Michael Jordan wins the championship. He's not out with his buddies. He's back in the locker room looking at what can he do to win the championship again next year already. That's got to be the mindset, okay? And that mindset is going to be a 5 to 10 year sacrifice. That means you're not hanging out with your buddies after you win. Out with me, why aren't you going out? Like, why aren't we doing stuff? You got to understand your purpose. Your purpose. If they're part of your purpose, they're part of your purpose long term, and you should be doing it to help them. If they're not part of your purpose long term, like, you don't need to justify why you're producing. It's just part of what you need to do. Okay? So, in order to get revenue, I want to walk through this because all of these things can be given a stat and a quota. So if you're trying to get income, you can just look at income and be like, how come I don't have income? And you can stare at it and you can get upset and you can get emotional and be like, why don't I have income? That's not going to get you income. Talking about it's not going to get you income. Venting is not going to get you income. Thinking more about income is not going to get you income. Writing down that you want income is not going to get you more income. Okay? So this is called your product. You're trying to get your product. Production to bring forth. You're trying to produce income, bring forth income. So in order to bring forth income, the only way to do that is to close a sale. Okay? So it would make logical sense, right? If I was trying to get income and I had a certain quota that I was trying to achieve, I should also have a quota of how many sales I'm going to close to get there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? Now think about, right before a sale happens, what would I have to do in order to make that sale?
Talk to somebody.
Okay, talk to somebody.
Do a demonstration.
So talk to someone. Okay, is there anything that I would have to do between here and here? If I talk to someone, am I just gonna get a sale, or are there steps?
Get on the phone.
So,
Yeah.
well, there's a lot.
Go ahead, Mike.
So,
There's a lot.
before you even, talk to someone, that's the first way to get
It's
yourself.
like saying kissing and get you pregnant.
Yeah, basically.
It's not.
There's all the steps in
There's a
between.
lot of other stuff.
Right? So
Taking
before you close
actions
the sale,
in general.
you gotta show them.
Create content to enough generate interest to
Mhm.
have them want to talk to you to begin with.
Yeah, and these are right answers, but I want you to start changing the way you guys think about this. Lock down, close the sale. Literally, what's the thing that would happen right before that? They would
Negotiate.
probably tell you no.
Negotiate.
Negotiate, okay? And when you're negotiating, it's because they told you no. Okay? So that's where we track no's. In order to close the sale, I need to get told no a certain amount of times. That's why that's a number. That's why there's a stat there. Now, before they told you no, what logically would have had to happen before?
Selling process.
Sales process, okay? Now, if we dial it down even further, I want you guys to think of micro, like tiny, tiny little sub-fractions of what we're gonna do. What's literally the thing that would come right before a no?
Draw close.
And ask.
Or some sort of
How many
action.
times did I ask? I had to ask them, right? So that's where you have to ask. Okay? Now, before I had to ask, what would I have to do right before that?
Pitch.
I'd have to pitch. Okay? So I'd have to actually give them something I'm asking about. That's a good point. So we call that a demo. Okay?
Been doing a lot of that lately.
Now, right before that demo, what's going to happen?
Before the demo?
Right before the demo, like literally
Set the
inch back.
intention.
State the intention. So I got to tell them I want to sell something. Okay, right before that, what's got to happen?
Qualify.
Fact find,
Well,
Fact find.
greeting,
right before the intention.
Do they need the product?
But you
I
gotta
find
call
out they're
them.
a buyer.
Qualification.
Qualification.
Okay, fact finding. Okay, so before you state the intention, you're going to fact find. Okay, right before I fact find, what am I going to do?
greeting,
Greedy.
I got to do the greeting. I got to handle that reactionary defense response. I've got to greet them. Okay, right before the greeting, what do I need to do?
Make the decision to talk to them.
I've got to decide I want to talk to them.
set an
That's a
appointment.
big one. In the training, Grant talks about attitude. That's what Sean just said, decision. You have to actually make the decision. I'm going to make a sale today. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to follow the script. You actually have to decide all these things in your head. I want you to think about it like that switchboard over there. Pretend like not all of them are set to the right fuse. Not all the switches are flipped the right way when you start the demo. You have to switch everything and mentally be prepared when you step into that demo. Because if you don't, and you just assume everything's in place, we had our electricity out for how many weeks in these outlets?
Couple months.
Couple months, just because we never checked the fuse. We just assumed there's going to be electricity. We paid rent in an office. Of course they're going to have electricity. They didn't. We thought they were broken. I was going to have Adam come in here and rip out the electric. Turns out, all they had to do was flip the switches. So what Sean said is important. You actually have to go into it. I'm gonna ask for the sale. I'm gonna overcome objections. I'm gonna do a demonstration. I'm gonna set the intention. I'm gonna fact find. I'm gonna get the DVM. Because before, if you don't intentionally think those things, what happens usually?
If you're not intentional, they can take control.
Yeah, maybe you come in nervous. Is it gonna happen? Will they close? What if I say this and they say that? That's literally, you're subconsciously flipping the switch the wrong way. You're screwing your sale up before you even start. We get done with a sale and we neglect to think about, well, dude, I just did that to myself.
Don't want to psych yourself out.
Yeah, like I just set all these counter intentions. So that's the attitude piece. So before the greeting, you gotta have the attitude going into the deal. Okay? Now, and that's probably the most conceptual we're going to get. The rest of this, let's keep it very literal. Okay, so before I can greet them or have a good attitude, what would I have to do right before that?
You have to have an appointment to begin with.
Yeah, I got to show up. I got to actually show up, or they have to come in. Like there has to be an appointment. So attend, we'll call that attend the appointment. Okay, right before I attend the appointment, what would I need to do?
Know about the appointment.
I didn't know about it. What about between that and attending?
Setting it.
Setting it. Between setting and attending, there's a step. Nano knows.
Oh, confirming the appointment.
Confirming the appointment. So if you're getting canceled, that's why. Calling on the day ahead of time and saying, hey, we have an appointment tomorrow. As a professional courtesy, I want to be on time. I want to make sure you will be too. Okay, so confirming the appointment. Okay, right before you confirm the appointment, what would you do?
Ring.
You call them, okay? Right before you call them, what would you do?
Generate the lead.
Generate the lead. Was there anything that would happen in between that and calling? I think we missed a step between here. You'd actually have to set the appointment first place before you can confirm the appointment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so set the appointment. Okay, before you set the appointment, what has to happen?
You gotta get them on the phone.
Okay, get them on the phone. Get in communication. Okay, right before you get in communication, what happens?
You've gotta have a way to communicate with them. So
that's a have, but what's the actual product, the sub-product? Before you can give them a call, what's got to happen?
You have to be ready with the script.
You're going to have your script. Script ready, okay? Now, before your script is ready, what would have to happen?
Common Q&A.
What is common Q&A?
Common questions and the answers that go along with them. If they have there's common questions a lot of people might have to ask for, at least for my career field, and they'll ask these common questions, and you'll heard them so much you'll have immediate answer. If
Like
people are
drilling
brand
your
new,
script, like.
if
Yeah.
people are brand new, they'll have the answers for them.
Okay, so drilling your script. Okay, now that would probably happen a little before. Think about very literal guys. Before you would call them, what would have had to happen?
Learn about them.
Not quite. We'll learn about them on the call.
You
What?
have to have a product.
You have to have a comm line, a way to call them.
Not quite. You'd have to have a them. You gotta get a lead. Before you can call the lead, you gotta get a lead, right? So that's generate a lead. Okay? Now, before you generate the lead, what would have to happen in order for you to be able to generate a lead?
Create content so they're interested enough to provide with the comm line.
Okay, so create content. Now think about, if I create the content, does that mean that they saw it?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so what would I have to do between creating the content and them coming in?
content.
Reaching.
Promote, reach.
Promote.
Okay, so I have to
Advertisement.
promote. Then, before that, I would create the content. What would I do before I created content?
Come on.
Study. Know what the hell you're talking about.
So I've got to have content. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, before I have content, what would I have? What would I have to do?
Research.
Do some research and some study. Okay.
Study.
More fact finding.
Find out what's needed.
Okay. That Mike just made a good point. So find out what's needed.
Get out on knee.
Okay. What about right before that?
Before you find out what's needed.
Yeah.
Good.
Set the target.
Decide that you want to promote.
Okay. So you get to decide you want to promote. You get to have a purpose.
Yes.
Okay. So you get to decide. You get an idea that you want to make a sale. That you want to get a product in someone's hands. Okay. So that's decide. Okay, which ironically means to cut off. So deciding doesn't just mean I want to sell, it means I'm going to sell and not do other stuff. Okay, that's what salespeople have to understand. I'm going to sell and not do other stuff. I'm going to sell and not hang out with buddies late at night. I'm going to sell and not stay up late. I'm going to sell and not sleep in. Like, these are all things you got to decide on and cut off the option and then go through this. Okay, so think about if we're trying to close a sale and it's not happening. What if we understood this process and we could figure out what's out?
Gives you clarity.
Okay, so think about, like, if you didn't close a sale this week or last week, I didn't close a sale, did I get no's? Okay, maybe I did. Was I asking? Maybe I was. Was I demoing? Maybe I didn't get enough demos. Okay, so there's the actual order, but then there's also the quota. Okay, so if you think about, like if we removed income and put cake, you're trying to bake a cake. Cut the cake. Before you cut the cake has to be in the pan. Before the cake comes out of the pan, it's got to be in the oven. Before the cake goes in the oven, you would have had to put it in the oven. Before you put it in the oven, you had to mix all the ingredients. You had to have eggs.
Preheat or whatever.
Preheat. So if you're like, man, I don't have cake. Like, think about how silly this sounds, but we get it all jacked up in our heads. And you're like, oh, I don't have cake. It's like, okay, cool. Did you actually put cake in the oven? Well, no. Well, what are you emotional about? That you didn't put cake in the oven? Of course you don't have cake. But sales is the same way. I don't have income. Good. Are you doing all this stuff? Which one's not happening? Or which one's not happening enough? Because if they were all happening, you'd be on a beach with Grant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what clicked for me in 2016. This process clicked for me. I started realizing All of this stuff has to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then the result doesn't happen. And if I'm serious about the result, then I'm going to take these things seriously too. And anything that's not one of these items is not a priority. And that's where I started becoming obsessed. You guys see me like promoting, like doing calls, like running around like a maniac because I know the sub-products have to happen. And if someone doesn't do them, then they're not going to happen. That's why I'm hands-on. I don't wait for people to do stuff because I understand if I don't do these things, no one's going to volunteer to. They're not going to happen and the result won't get done. Okay, so you've got to look at in your own business when I'm trying to close a deal, what are all the points, and we hit a lot of these on our stats, right? But there's some of these we don't hit. There's some of these that we're not going to put a graph on there. You've got to just pay attention to. Okay, and if you really wanted to get real and serious, you could even pull even more sub-products out of there. Before you ask, between demo and ask, you could put find dominant buying motive. Like these are all out points that if they're not going on, then you're going to miss the next step. Or you're going to go for the next step and you're going to just go right past it because you don't have traction. Okay, so when you're trying to get a sale, like this is a mechanical activity. This is a logical activity. It's not like this thing where you just flow in and doing whatever. There's certain things that have to happen in a certain order. Okay, so I want us to look at each of these. With sales, right now, we need to close more of those, right? So we're getting a lot of no's. That's why I'm pushing us on Friday nights, guys. Let's get more no's. Because if we don't get more no's, we can't get more sales. That's why we changed the policy to if you don't ask, it's not a demo. Because we're having people demo and not write up a contract. So we just changed the rule that if you didn't write up a contract, it doesn't even count. That's why. So if you're looking at, all right, did I get a sale? It's really, did you get enough demos? Because if you didn't get enough demos, the sales aren't going to happen. Okay? So who can already see a correlation right now? Like if I had more demos, I would have more sales right now. Okay, now even a demo is something where you're like, I want more demos, and so you can't just get a demo. Okay, so if I'm trying to get a demo, there's obviously the cycle I've got to go through in the actual demo, but if we talk real products here, like, do I actually have an appointment to attend? So if I don't have an appointment to attend, I'm not going to have a demo to go to, and the sales cycle can't happen. And that's where it has to come down to just like black and white. If I'm sitting in the office, I'm not on an appointment. If I'm not on an appointment, I can't hit my income target. If I can't hit my income target, eventually I'm not going to like this. If I'm not going to like this eventually, at some point I'm going to leave. Or I'm going to stay here and just be terribly miserable the entire time because I'm always just breaking even. Because notice when these things have to happen because the income becomes vital, somehow you end up doing all these things.
Say that again.
When it becomes dangerous where the income has to happen, where it's vital, you're like, man, I need to survive, somehow you end up doing all these things. Think about it. You've made sales when your back was against the wall and you're like, dude, I pulled it off somehow. It's instinct. You already know all these things. The only times you don't know them is when you convince yourself you don't know stuff. Like when you're driving, you're not like shift, gas, brake, you just do stuff. But if you convinced yourself, oh, driving's dangerous or hard, I don't know things, then guess what? You're going to shift, gas, brake, and you're going to be like mixing all your stuff up. But if you just think about I'm trying to get income, all I got to do is follow the steps. Like you don't think about like, oh, I don't know stuff, or this is a challenge, or that came up, or this is my problem, or here's the obstacle. You just do. You're just like, here's all the hoops I got to jump through, and the goal is worth it, so I'm going to jump through all the hoops. Okay, now this is assuming that this actually is the goal. If this isn't the goal, then your subproduct list should look different. Okay, if your subproduct list was to fit in, you're not going to do any of these things. You're going to do different stuff. It's going to be a different list of ingredients. But if you're trying to close sales and get revenue, you got to look at, all right, so I'm not doing enough income because I'm not making enough sales. I'm not making enough sales because I don't have enough demos. If I don't have enough demos, it's because ultimately I'm not attending appointments. Or I'm attending a lot of appointments with a bad attitude and not going through the sales cycle and trying to get a demo. Oh, they're not a buyer, or if I ask, they're not going to do it anyways, or this one's not real. Like, you can attend a ton of appointments and not have the right attitude in place and just not demo people. or demo them and not get their dominant buying motive, and then you end up missing that deal too. Okay, so attending appointments, if you're not attending appointments, it's because you're not confirming appointments. So for every appointment you attend, you should have 1 to 2 stats on appointments confirmed. I should be following up. Hey, make sure we're still on. I know you told me barring World War III breaking out, you'd be there. I just heard on the news last night, North Korea's up to some stuff. Are we still going to be on next week? Confirmations, right? Setting the appointments. Am I actually setting appointments? Okay, and this is a good way for you to track. Like if you're not setting appointments, you're not going to have anything to attend. You're not going to have an event to be present to. Okay, and then you go back to, all right, well, am I actually getting in communication with people? Contacts. Sales is a contact sport, as Grant says. If I'm not getting in communication with enough people, then I'm not going to get the appointments, which means I won't hit my income target. Okay, I've had people quit because I increased their call quota. Think about it as a business owner, what that tells me. They didn't want income. I increased the very thing that's going to result in them having more income, and they quit. They didn't actually want the income. They wanted something else. I don't provide something else. I provide income. So income is the thing that I'm going to exchange to you. It's not going to be like anything really other than that. That's the focus of the reason why I'm going to train somebody and spend time with them, is I want to see them do well financially. Even if they don't like me, I would rather have you be rich and not like me. Like, I don't want you to be my buddy and you're not doing well with your money. That's irresponsible of me. So in order to get contacts, I've actually got to have scripts ready. That's why I'm a script Nazi. It's not because I just like scripts. It's because if you don't do the script right, you're not going to get the appointment and you won't make money. Okay? And if you don't have that ready, you're going to generate the lead and fumble the lead. Okay, this is why we're starting to push harder on generating leads. Everyone should generate leads. Okay, in a company where we generate probably, I think Arian usually gets anywhere from 50 to 100 leads. I usually get 20 to 50 leads. So we're generating like 120 to 150 leads a week, and we can actually get lazy and stop generating our own leads. Okay, the benefit of generating your own leads is you can control who you're going to talk to. Nano, you talked to someone right before a course. Was that a worthwhile conversation? No. Was that your lead or was that our lead?
When?
The last guy you talked to.
That I did the demo?
Yeah.
That was your lead.
Okay. Our leads are never going to be the same quality as if you picked, this is who I want. I'm going to go kill this animal. You're going to have choice of the litter versus us just giving you whatever comes up. Okay, salespeople initially, they're like, yeah, I want leads. And it's like, dude, we'll give you leads. For 2 weeks, I'm going to give you leads. You won't be here after you call them all, but you're going to get leads. Guess what? Steve Spray, he told Grant his 3rd year in, he said, cut my leads out. I do not want to call the internet leads anymore. In his opinion, they weren't good leads. They sucked. He didn't want to deal with them. Now you can be like Glengarry Glen Ross, like, oh, the leads suck. Or you can be like, yeah, those leads do suck. I'm going to go get my own. There's a difference in responsibility factor. Now to generate leads, that's a stat we track. One of the stats that everyone should be tracking is how much are you promoting? How active are you on your social media? How active are you on email? How active are you in the community? How many events are you going to? If you're not focused on the top of your funnel, your income is going to stagnate. I'm promoting. So I'm getting leads, and guess what? They're not talking to me, they're talking to you. But I'm promoting on every possible platform I can. It doesn't mean that the people and places I'm promoting to are fitting your income goals. I just need to hit a target for my outflow. So I promote everywhere I can. But if you know I need a certain size sale and a certain kind of buyer, then one of the things you got to look at is you can't just do study and research on content. You actually have to study and research where that buyer is. Like, Mike, what kind of sales do you like making? Like, explain your ideal buyer to us.
Ideal buyer is usually a couple.
A couple.
A family with at least one child, and they, they usually have a bunch of, like, they go vacations every year, and they've got money set aside for retirement, and they're trying to grow that, or at least trying to make sure that stays around. Usually
Okay.
the ideal scene is kind of where they're at. Families are really like where I do best.
So married, you want them to have kids. You said you want them to have a home.
They can have a home. They don't have to, but
Okay. They have some retirement money.
they definitely have retirement money.
Okay. So we got married, kids, home, retirement money. When is the last time you had a conversation with that person to buy something?
Yeah. Probably 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. So it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
What was the description of the last person you demoed?
Single male.
Single male. Okay.
Yeah.
So this demographic probably is not going to be in Instagram. They're not going to be in a direct message talking to a stranger that lives in the Philippines that's going to send them over to us. So when you're calling those people, like that's who you're calling. Okay? These people, think about where they are. They're at their house. These people stay home. These people go to Olive Garden on
Church.
Friday night. These people go to church. These people go to community activities. These people do Anchorage Chamber. These people are doing different things. So if you're trying to get this demographic, you can't just find out their needs. You have to find out where they are. You got to go there, and then you got to promote to their needs at their location. But if we're promoting to their needs on Instagram, not going to happen. You promote to their needs on Facebook, not going to happen. You promote to their needs on Grant Cardone, that's probably also not going to happen. These people are terrified of Grant Cardone. Like they see Grant, and they're like, he's aggressive.
Pushy.
I don't want my kids hearing him. So that's not something you can lead with. You've got to lead with something else. That's why we have so many different products. See, all the stuff we do here, guys, is by design. None of it's an accident. It's all stuff that I thought out on here's all the sub-products, and this is all stuff we're going to need to get the sub-products done. Okay? So I would start looking at the best way to get this lead is to get in communication with somebody who already is that and ask them for their friends. Am I doing a good job with you? Yes. Great. Do you trust me? Yes. Okay, great. I'm trying to grow my business. Would you help me? Yes. Okay, I need 3 people right now. 3 people just like you. I only want to work with people like you. You're my favorite type of client. Who do you know? Friends, family, coworkers, who do you know? And then you lead with something free. I'm not even going to charge them. I'm going to give them a financial plan for free. If they want to do business with me, that's totally up to them. But I'm not going to make them do anything. I'm going to go in there with a free offering. And by the way, if they do business, we're going to give you give them a discount because they came from you. Okay, that's how you do business with this demographic. But that means that you've got to decide on something different. It means that you've got to find out the needs of these people. You've got to study and research these people, find out where they are. You've got to have content that's going to get them thinking and interested. Okay, these people are interested in saving money and paying off debt and spending time with their family and having financial security and retiring. So you've got to promote that. How do you save more money? How do you get more time with your kids and not have to work the rest of your life? How do you get to retirement and actually know you're not going to run out of money? How do you retire early? How do you travel more? Those are all things that these people are interested in. You got to create content for that, and then you got to promote that content. But let me ask you logically, if this stuff's not happening, what's the likelihood of that happening? Not gonna, right?
Yeah. You just be shooting in the water at that point.
So that's guys, that's really like, if you can understand this is everything. Okay, and if you can understand this, you're gonna understand me a lot better too. And you should actually be worse than I am. Okay, I'm pretty direct, like to the point. You should be even more. If Jerry is not gonna buy something, I do not need to get in communication with Jerry. I do not need to set an appointment with Jerry. If Jerry's trying to talk to me, unless he's gonna buy something, I should have a script. Like those should be the things you're considering. I'm not spending time with Gene eating lunch. I'm going out to find clients.
Also, you're saying going through the sub-products, but first hitting those, like you said, or just a little bit ago, you said, if he's not going to buy something, see if you'll go back to create the content that will fulfill a need based on what you're looking for.
Right. That's how you
So
start. That's how you
always-
start choosing your audience.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because then you can figure out, okay, awesome, thank you for your time. Here's an article.
yeah. That's how you exit the call with a broke person, by the way. Man, I did that several times last week, huh?
Mhm.
We had a dude, you would love this. We had a dude tell us that his business partner is Grant Cardone's son. 5 minutes into the call. And I was like, Nano, we're getting off the call with this guy right now.
Yeah.
Dude, the dude is insane. He's lying to us. He's out ethics. But that's because we promoted. Now realize I'm good at promotion and I might have more time. So you guys can tell me, hey, I want to have this type of article to send to somebody. Can you write that for me? Boom, I'll do it. Hey, I want to have this type of video that I can follow someone up with. I want to have this type of landing page. If you guys tell me what you need, I can actually do some of the legwork on creating the content because I've already done the research. And then you guys can just promote the content. That takes out some of the stuff. It makes it easier. Right? Think about it. That's how microwave got invented. Someone didn't like the sub-product list of putting food in the oven, so they invented a microwave to save time. Someone didn't like the sub-product list of mailing a letter, so they invented a telephone. So you can speed some of this stuff up, but someone still has to do it. Either a system has to do it, or a person has to do it, or a team has to do it, but it has to get done. Okay, so this is a way, like when you're not getting income, you can debug it, figure out what's out. If you're trying to instruct somebody, you can instruct them like I'm doing right now. If you're trying to increase production, this is where stats and conditions come in. If you're trying to increase production, you assign quotas to each of these and you start tracking stats on your graph. Okay, and it comes down to how bad did you want the income? How strong was your purpose? How bad did you need the funding? This is for me where stats like clearly blur into ethics. If I wanted this bad enough and I had the purpose to do it and I didn't do these things, that's an ethics issue. Okay, I either told someone I wanted it when I didn't really want it, that would be called a lie, or I did want it and neglected to do the things that I needed to do to get there. Black and white for me. Like if it's up, ethics are in. If it's down, ethics are clearly out. And it comes down to how strong is the purpose behind why you're doing the things you're doing. If there's no purpose, then it's like, oh, I'm fine. And you start justifying, why had this happen, or this came up, or I didn't know, or I was busy, or these people talked to me. Like if you're really locked in on this, nothing matters. Did I close a sale? Nope. How many no's did I get? How many times did I ask? How many demos did I do? How many appointments did I have? And by the way, if I didn't, let's say I didn't have enough demos, I'm gonna let you guys into a secret. There will be a reason. If I didn't have enough demos, there will be a reason. The reason I say that is I don't need to know what the reason was. There just wasn't enough demos. Of course there's a reason. A reason doesn't make it right. The fact is the graph needed to be higher. So like when I'm looking at my own stats, I never look at what was the reason. I just look at the stat wasn't there and these were the sub-products that should have been there and I need to go do those things to get that stat up. A reason doesn't change the fact the stat was down. Stat was down because the stat was down.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to get, literally that's where Grant gets unreasonable. You have to literally be unreasonable, meaning that you remove any reasons. Of course there was a reason. Someone wrecks your car, they're going to have a reason. They're going to tell you why they did it. Do you really care? No, you wrecked my car, dude. Of course you had a reason. It doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
You still did it. It still happened. And if they're like, well, I didn't mean to, that's even worse. You're telling me you wrecked my car and you didn't even mean to do it. It was something you just unintentionally threw off. At least tell me you meant to do it, because then I know, all right, this guy's purposely trying to attack me. But if they're like, oh, it was something I didn't even have to put effort or thought into, it just happens. You're like, dude, stay away, right? Same thing with your stats, though. I missed my sales quota. I didn't mean to. Well, that's bad. If you missed it, at least tell me you were trying to miss it. If you didn't mean to, it means there's a lack of intention. It's something you need to focus on more intently and put more time and effort into. Now, the good news is, guys, that this is all stuff that, like we talk about do more, get better. You can staticize all this stuff that's do more, and you're going to hit plateaus. That's the get better stage. That means I need to go study. It doesn't mean that I need to like have more conversations or talk about it more. It means that there's some content that's missing. Okay, reality, I'm probably going to be opening up a book, doing some study and figuring out what am I not getting right. And before I do that, I need to identify what subproduct am I missing, and I need to study that one and the one right before it. Because I was doing good up until the demo. That means that I probably don't understand the demo, and I probably don't understand the thing that's happening right before the demo, so I'm getting tripped up. Is this making sense? Okay, so all this stuff is logical. It does come down to literally like dominoes. If you have all this lined up correctly and you hit the first domino, they're all going to fall down. And that's at the beginning where I said it seems like magic. You look at Grant like, man, he's just on a beach. Well, when you hit dominoes, it does look like magic. Grant organized it all, so when he hits the first one, all of them will fall down. But if you're missing one, that's where you're like, I can't get across. I can't make it happen because that other one was missing. Now, you will have to tear all the back end down and reinsert the one that was missing and then line it all back up again, and that's going to be work, or you can just sit there and struggle. Okay, so basically what I want to wrap this up on and then leave this open for questions. With all of these different subproducts and things we covered tonight, like I said, it's going to come down to do more and get better. At a certain point, let's say this is your graph. At a certain point, you will cap out. Like you will do more demos in a week than you're physically capable of doing. And then it's gonna be like, dude, I literally can't do another demo unless I quit sleeping or quit eating or I start wearing a catheter around the office. Like I just won't get more demos done. Okay, that's called power. Okay, now when you're in power, that's where you write up how you did what you did. Because guess what? Everyone else in your company is going to want to know, how did Sean get there? And then guess what? They all want to know how Sean got there. Sean can be like, I know how, and I got the system, and I wrote all of it down, and I can show you the subproducts and the stats. You just got to give me a piece of it when you do it. That's how you get past power. Okay? Now, the other time where you're going to feel like you can't do anymore is when you're like this.
Say that again.
You're going to feel like you can't do anymore. You're going to feel like you've plateaued because your trend has. You're not going past a certain trend. Okay? At this point, you're probably doing everything you can do. Okay, think about that statement. You're doing everything you can do. There's things that that you don't know how to do that you should be doing. But you're doing everything you can do. There's stuff you can't do that you should do. That's where you need to go learn. If your graph is this and you're like, man, I'm capped out, you're not. You're just in a stage where you need to go focus on learning about the things that are preventing you from moving forward. Okay, this isn't power. Okay, I've been in power. And so when someone's like, man, I can't do anymore, and I look at their graph and not in power, it's like they're in danger, they're in emergency, they're non-existence. They're just like they're out of oil. The motor feels really, really hot, and it feels like you're doing a ton of work. You don't have any lubrication in the system. You need to get better information. You need to start studying. Okay, and this is where you hear stats like the average Fortune 500 CEO reads 60 books a year. You hear like when Grant first started, like Grant studied hours and hours a day. Okay, all of 2017, right? I studied about 4 hours a day. Every single day on those books you see over there. That's all I did. Mike can attest. Mike was there. I would go home at 4 and I would study till 8. That's all I did every single day. And the reason why is because I was experiencing this. I had my subproducts, I had my stats, I had my graphs. We were plateauing. And I was like, all right, well, I need to go intently focus on personal development. It's not like I read a couple pages. It's like, dude, I've immersed myself in the activity until I knew the problem was solved. Statistically, meaning I saw my graph go up. That's when I knew I was good. All right, I'm good. I don't have to do 4 hours a day anymore. And that's going to be seasons and cycles you go through. But it's going to be evidenced by your stats. Okay, your stats are your pulse. So when you're like, man, I have goals and I want to do stuff, but you're not equally focusing on stats and graphs, Like stats, it's like your graph should be something you voluntarily want to do. It should never be something you have to be reminded to do because it's directly linked to your income goal. So if it's like, man, I've got to remind you to do your graphs, it means that you really don't care about the income goal that much. That's what it comes down to. And you need to figure out why. That's the big thing. If you don't care about the income goal, the purpose isn't big enough. It's either not a big enough number or it's not real to you anymore. You need to figure out why it's not real to you anymore and then get back in reality with, all right, well, what can I do? I could do more demos. I could set more appointments. I could get in front of more people and start graphing those things out. You might not see the revenue happen right away, but you might start seeing, all right, I got a full pipeline now. I got 10 people lined up this week. I sent out 15 proposals last week that I can follow up on now, and that starts turning into deals. So I know we covered a lot. I want to leave this open for some questions. I mean, hopefully you guys have some good questions based on this. So what do you guys have?
I don't know if I feel like I got more clarity with the sub-product list and like looking at it. The biggest thing, I think I'm like, I don't feel like immediately like I have a question, but like the big takeaway is kind of looking at the sub-product list of the ideal client and then catering to that ideal client, not based off of what I can do for everybody, right? But what can I do for them in their present time?
Mm.
That spoke a lot to me and like makes more sense because since we got to the chamber event, which coming from 10X and going there, we're like whatever.
Yeah,
but, like,
a little bit
that's
different.
the market, like that's ideal market there, and that's making me get known in the community. So that was a big takeaway.
Yeah, that's a good
makes more sense to me
takeaway.
now.
Yeah.
Mine, it's not so much of a question, is more of whenever you put the VFP income in the sub-product list, and then you mention like if a person sees the sub-product list and it's not attaining the income, it's because they didn't want it bad enough. And
Mhm.
yet I heard you say that whenever you kept seeing your trends up and down, it was not necessarily that you didn't want to. There was something about it that you didn't know, but you went out to go study.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually make it, attain it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so you have to go study for sure. But the study was something I knew I needed to do and didn't want to.
And you did not want to.
Till it got urgent. And I saw my graph do that and I was like, okay, now I need to go do this. So ultimately, like we have to remove it's a weird concept, but you have to remove the concept that you don't know stuff. Think about anything you've ever wanted to know, you knew. You figured it out, you Googled it, you asked someone. So when I'm struggling, there's something I don't know, and it's usually something I'm avoiding wanting to know.
You just like what you mean is
Like laziness, low confront, whatever it might be.
Front,
Yeah. So when I finally decided, all right, I want it bad enough, I went and did the thing I didn't want to do that really the entire time I knew I should be studying right now. I should be putting more work in. And instead, I liked calls better, so I was like, I just bang the phone more. I wanted to do calls. Didn't want to study. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort it out, I guess, for myself, my own areas, as far as, where am I doing it?
Mm.
I'm just thinking here, like, what areas am I, quote unquote, avoiding? So I guess it's making me think.
Yeah. And the best way to do that is draw out your own sub-product list. And the ones you're not avoiding are either going to be the missing links, right? Like, I'm doing contacts and I'm doing appointments, but maybe I'm not tracking confirmations. I didn't leave that out on accident. Like, that's probably something I don't like doing. I don't like calling someone up and confirming for whatever reason. I've got a thing about that, right? Or it's something that like when you do the sub-product list, maybe it's not a missing link. It's just something that it should happen, but it's not happening. And those are going to be the two cases where you can actually easily identify, all right, I'm avoiding doing this. Just by definition of the fact that the stat's down or it's not happening. So it could be something where there's this deal and there should be something here, but you didn't write anything, and then you realize like, oh, duh. Like I've done that so many times. Wealth creation formula. We were losing deals on wealth creation formula. I realized I wasn't following up after they said no. I started following up after they said no. We closed a bunch of deals in the last 3 weeks. It wasn't because I didn't know that. That's common sense. But it's because there was something that was causing me to not want to do that. And it could be that thing directly, or it could be something counter to that thing that's conflicting, and I'm doing that instead. Does that make sense? So it's maybe a missing link, or it isn't a missing link. It's something you do know about. You did write it down, and you're just realizing, like, man, I don't do that. I don't promote. Or I don't get buyers. But that's a reason why this isn't flowing through. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it's just a lot, right? Because it's kind of, in a sense, you have to, like, it's almost like you rewire the way you think.
Yeah, but it's super logical. And it's very black and white. So that's the other thing. When you guys are doing this, it's like a you thing. Okay, so, and it's like a us thing, like the group. We can enforce that on ourselves. But you could go to like an obese person and say, if you want fit, and then do all the sub products, and then be like, dingus, you eat too much. You don't run. You don't go to the gym. What do you think's gonna happen? And yes, that's all true. That's not their reality.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're doing this, like it's like I do this to you guys and myself because that's the agreement of the group. That's why we're here. It's to generate income. Okay, it's to do a good job. So I'm like, dude, come on, do more of this. Let's go, because that's what needs to happen. And you should be that way with yourself on it. Okay, if you're not that way on yourself, that's one of the things where you're looking at, what am I avoiding? There's something there still, and you got to push through that, and it will come down to how bad did you want the goal. Okay, if the purpose was strong enough, I'm gonna push myself harder than anyone else can push me, and then I don't care. Like if they say, hey, you're not fit, I'll be like, dude, yeah, I know. I'm working on this right now. What are you doing? So that's kind of what that comes down to, and I want to stress that because that's like when you go to Grant's office. Like ours is smaller, but it's run similarly. Like if someone's not doing calls, it's not like, hey, what's going on? It's like, dude, get on the phone. They're not on the script. Grant's like, what the hell? It says this. Can you read? Like, and that's not because it's rude. It's because the goal isn't to be buddies. The goal is we gotta make this sub product happen. We'll be buddies up here. Okay, you're gonna like me a lot better when you got this giant income and you're making six figures. Mm-hmm. Like I've literally seen meetings where Grant called Dave Robards fat.
Yeah.
Like in front of the entire team. Grant wanted Dave to be in shape because he knows Dave can perform and do better when he feels better about himself. And it wasn't like normal conversation you'd have with a buddy, but it was like, dude, it got the job done. So that's where that's got to be a self mindset and an us mindset, but it's not like, and this goes back to the buyer thing. Some of the stuff we talk about in here, you go to another sales team and they're gonna they're gonna go into fear or aggression when you say that to them because that's not their reality. So when you're marketing and advertising, you got to be aware, who's my buyer, where are they, what are they doing, and if I'm like 10x, like don't be a little bitch and all this other stuff, and I'm like if you're not making calls, you're a dumbass, or whatever I'm saying might be my reality, but if that's not their reality might be, yeah, but I spent time with my kid last night. That's their product. It's not income. So I've got to think about, all right, well, how do I, because they do need to make calls, they do need to go to the gym, but how do I make that more of what they're looking for? And that's because that's who we're trying to cater to. Now, if it's yourself, like you already know your goal, you're like, dude, I don't need to cater it or make it a certain way, I just need to get the stat up. And that's where you can be a little more ruthless and aggressive. But like there's a difference between like production and then also marketing. Okay, you can't enforce your production on the people you're marketing to, you enforce that on yourself and on your group, etc. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So what other questions do you guys have?
For me, just I gotta study more. The areas that resisting, or some specific areas for the follow up to that I'm like somewhat iffy, right? That that in specific areas when it comes to learning stuff that I don't necessarily want to put the time or effort, like taxes or gold and silver,
Mm-hmm.
or the legal side, so. Yeah, and for me, I just see the things that I gotta confront my own shit.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. A lot of this stuff is things that are like, how do I put this? You mentioned the follow-up tool. technically like anybody could do the follow-up tool, but it's only when we don't confront. Like, all right, like I'm not going to look at it, or I'm going to do something else instead. That's always the indicator. So like, I'm trying to think of one I had. So like last year, I was convinced last year that I did not have time to shower in the mornings. I was like, I don't have time, I'm too busy, it can't happen, I'm gonna be late if I do. And so like I had a couple of times where I went like 4 days without bathing, and I was just grinding, right? And Lexi's like, dude, you smell terrible. And I'm like, yeah, but I just made $100,000, so I don't care, right? And then I realized like, that's probably like bad PR and it's detracting clients. I should make sure I don't smell like a foot when I go see people. And so like I fit it in, and it was like, that was super easy.
Yeah.
And then I laughed about it. I was like, how come I was telling myself I couldn't take a shower in the morning? Or how come I was telling myself I couldn't wake up at 4? So that's again, like, it comes down to like this, here's where I want to be. Here's where I am. Anything that I think, do, or believe here that's not congruent with this, I've got to get rid of. Don't care what it is. Belief system about following up too much. It might be something that your parents told you when you were a kid, like don't ask someone too many times, and it's like, oh man, the follow-up tool's that. I can't do that. Well, you got to think about like, all right, do I want that or do I want that? And then it's just a mechanical thing. Like we're talking about Todd today. Like Todd is mechanical. You just slice and dice, dude. You get rid of it. And then you're able to do this. And then you look back and you actually have perspective. A lot of this stuff that ends up holding you back, like it's stuff you made up to make sense of a situation, and it's data that no longer applies. And when it starts flaring up, like you start getting like angry or emotional or upset or like tired or worn out, like those are all signs that you're like gripping. Like think about if you walked around with your muscles tense all day, how would you feel by the end of the day?
Dead.
So that's the effort. When somebody does one little thing and you flare up on that subject because you've been putting effort into protecting it that long, and that person pushed on it. You got to think about, why am I protecting that thing? And then you've got to realize, all right, if this thing's one of my sub-products, I'm the one that needs to push on it. I need to start poking and prodding and getting myself all worked up till it finally just goes away. But again, it comes down to, does this really matter as much as we say it does? And if it does, am I willing to do whatever it takes to get there? And if I am, that means that I'm confronting, I'm getting rid of stuff, I'm changing beliefs, I'm doing whatever I've got to do within what I believe is ethical. And I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So that's why, like, when you talk about stats, you see it's called ethics and conditions. It's not called stats and conditions, it's called ethics. Because it comes down to, that's the route to get what you want. And if you want, what you want is ethical, it's totally ethical matter. Like 100%. Like, did I get it done or did I not get it done? There wasn't an excuse or reason. It's like, dude, I either made it happen or I didn't. And if I didn't, then I need to look at, like, was this my purpose? And if this was my purpose and I didn't get it done, I need to be super hard on myself. In a good way, to improve. I'm not victim. You can be like, you can blame yourself and be irresponsible. You guys know what I mean? Like, oh, it's all my fault, I suck. You've heard those like compliment fishers. They're looking for you to be like, oh no, it's okay, buddy. Never do that, by the way. Or you can be like, all right, I should have done more demos. I didn't. That was dumb. Now I'm gonna go do more demos. And then you just get locked in on that target. So, any questions? Anything else you guys can think of? Cool, let's go ahead and wrap up here. If you guys do have questions, like I said, we've got a ton of, this is my area, we've got a ton of resources on it. We are, like, over here, especially at our company, we're a lot more blunt about this stuff than anyone else is. Like Nano's starting to see that. Other people in town, they don't run their office this way. We do, but it's like playing on a professional sports team. You sit down next to the Patriots on the bench, they're not like, how was your Saturday? Like, they're looking at how do we kill the next opponent. So that's the difference in mindset. And it's good to realize, again, real quick, guys, it's good to realize that there is a difference in who you're talking to and who your audience is. Because you might talk to other people in your life that this isn't the reality for them, and you can't change yourself. Like, you can't be like, okay, I'm this person now, and then come over here again and you get shocked when we're this way. you've got to kind of be like, you know you, and you know how to interact with other people without being them. If I've got to be my mom to talk to my mom, then I'm not really in good relations. Like, I just don't know how to act, so I pretend to be her. And then I come back over here, and I'm like, man, these guys are rude.
Yeah.
So you got to like think about those things too. So, I mean, we're this way here. You got to figure out what your beingness is. Be that way. And if you're not that way, that is how we are. So you got to be that way here, and then you go talk to like if Nano called his sister and was like, you know what I mean? She'd be like, dude, call me back when you got a better attitude. So you got to figure out, how do I talk to Shelby and not be that way?
She's on the program though.
She knows. She might be more intense than Nano. We don't actually know.
She's on the program though.
So, anything else you guys have for questions?
I'm just thinking of areas of the confront, study, can get better. That means for me personally.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
I mean, like I said, half with you, it's more just the higher confront, like knowing exactly
Clarity.
what to do. Like you said, you already, when you look at it, it's like, what do I need to do? And you already know.
Mm.
It's not like you don't know. It's not a real reason. It's just you have to do whatever that subproduct that you're avoiding.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have any questions on that. But
And for you guys specifically, like, I know the subproducts you guys need. That's why I drag you. Like when you're not doing it, I'll grab you by the ear. And like we sat down and went through Nano's conditions formula. Nano's like, I don't know. And I was like, dude, you totally knew like 6 months ago. Didn't change. There's just a confront thing. It's like, grab his head, put it in front of the screen, went through the conditions formula. And like, how much more clarity do you have now?
Yeah, it's like clear. I mean, it's clarity, right? It's like
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like I don't know. It's like just lights went on.
Yeah. So that's some of the stuff we've got to do for each other too. Like, sometimes we're going to come in and we're going to be somewhere else mentally, and Mike might know, like, Jerry's got to do this, and he might have to put my head in front of it, force me to confront it. Like, you guys saw that in LA, right? Like you said, with the staff down there, like they have exercises where they'll like drill into each other to get the thing done. And it's not like personal, it's just like the thing had to get done. We got the thing done, now we're good. And that's kind of how we've got to be a little bit here too. Like, when we know there's stats or there's targets or we're pushing, like on success stories, I think we missed by one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody should have been like, dude, we need one more. And then, like, and even if it's not that post, like, that's where we're supporting like the org board, right? Success stories equal promotions, promotions equal sales. Even if that's a salesperson that's like, guys, we need one more. Like, literally, just grab one before 2 o'clock. And that's kind of the attitude we've got to have, and just push to make it happen. And then we'll go celebrate stuff when we win, and it's different outside. But like, when we're focused, it's like we're playing in the game. So different attitudes, different mentalities, different behavior. Outside of the game, totally different. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Let's wrap it up here.